I'm going to share something with you that I've been sitting on for almost 2 years now. My name is Krystal Barnes, I'm 36 years old, and I live in Georgia, United States. 3 years ago, I died in my living room, and during those minutes, Jesus showed me the shocking truth about people who masturbate. He revealed to me 7 things, 7 specific things, that he loves about the believers who masturbate. Not what he hates, not what he condemns, but what he loves. And I promise you, by the time you reach number 5 and number 6, you're going to understand grace at a level you never have before. Let me start from the beginning. It was a Wednesday in the middle of October. I was home alone. My husband was at work, my kids were in school. I had just gotten off a phone call that I won't get into, but it had left me feeling completely drained and overwhelmed emotionally. I have a history of cardiac arrhythmia. It had never been serious enough to require surgery, just something I managed with medication and checkups. But that afternoon, something went wrong. I felt a sudden drop in my chest, like my heart just stopped trying. I made it to the couch and then I was out. My daughter called the house phone from school for a totally unrelated reason. I didn't answer. She called again. She called my neighbor. My neighbor came over, got no response at the door, and called 911. Paramedics reached me and found no pulse. They worked on me for approximately 5 minutes before they got me back. I don't remember any of the physical part. I was already somewhere else. I wasn't floating above my body. I wasn't traveling through a tunnel. That's not how it happened for me. One moment I was on the couch, and the next moment I was just somewhere that I don't have accurate words for. Not dark, not blindingly bright. Just completely different from anything I'd experienced before. And he was there. I knew immediately it was Jesus. I can't explain the knowing, it just was. The way you know certain things without being told. And his first look at me wasn't judgment. It wasn't the courtroom expression I had expected my whole life to one day face. It was like being fully seen by someone who already knew every single thing about you and had already decided how they felt about you. He spoke first. He said, "Krystal, I want to show you something. Something that millions of my people don't understand. Something they need to hear. Not to excuse anything, but because they don't know what I actually see when I look at them in their worst moments." And then he started. "The first thing I want you to understand is how I see the believer who keeps coming back to me after the same failure. Over and over." He showed me something, not a vision exactly, more like a spiritual knowing that carried imagery. I saw a woman on her knees, head down, clearly ashamed. And she was praying. And the prayer was clearly not her first time praying about the same thing. You could feel the weight of repetition in it. The embarrassment of saying sorry for the 100th time. And Jesus said, "Do you know what I see when she prays that prayer?" I shook my head. He said, "I see someone who still believes that coming back to me is worth doing. I see someone who hasn't given up on me, even when she's given up on herself. That kind of faith that says I know I don't deserve to be here again, but here I am anyway. That is not weak faith. That is one of the strongest kinds of faith there is." He quoted Matthew 11 verse 28 to me. He said, "I meant that literally. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Do you know what the Greek word for labor there is? It's kopiao. It means to be worn out, to be exhausted from effort. I was not speaking to people who have it together. I was speaking to people who are tired of trying and still failing. That invitation is still open, and I love the person who uses it. He told me that so many believers have stopped praying about this specific sin because they feel like hypocrites bringing it to God again. They've confessed it so many times they start to wonder if the prayer even registers anymore. Like a check you keep writing against an account you're not sure still has funds. Jesus said, "It registers. Every time. My love does not run out when your willpower does. I do not despise the weary heart that keeps returning to me. I designed that heart to need me. When it comes back, it's working exactly the way I made it." The second thing I love is the believer who smiles on Sunday and bleeds alone on Tuesday night. He said it just like that. He then showed me something that stayed with me. I saw a man in a church service. Hands raised. Singing. Genuinely worshipping. It wasn't fake. And then he showed me the same man, 3 days later, alone in a room, in the middle of that private failure, convinced that God had turned away. Jesus said, "He thinks I only see one of those two moments. He thinks the worship counts and the failure disqualifies. But Krystal, I see both. And I love him in both." He quoted Proverbs 15 verse 3. "The eyes of the Lord are in every place, beholding the evil and the good." And he said, "People read that verse and only hear the warning. They think I'm watching to catch them. But I want them to hear something else. I see the private battle. I see the moment before the failure where they actually tried to turn away and couldn't. I see the guilt afterward that means they still care. I see all of it." He explained that the specific pain of carrying a secret sin as a Christian is unlike almost any other pain. Because the church environment can make a person feel like they are the only broken one in the room. Like everyone else somehow figured out what you haven't. And that isolation makes the sin worse, not better. Jesus said, "I love the person who stops trying to manage their image with me. Who stops performing their repentance and just comes honest. I can work with honesty. I cannot do much with performance. When someone brings the real thing to me, even if it's shameful, even if it's the same thing as last time, that honesty is exactly what I need to work with." He shifted here. He said, "The third thing I want to tell you about is the believer who still wants purity, who hasn't given up on it, who hasn't made peace with the sin." He said, "Do you know how rare that is, Krystal? In the world you live in, where everything about lust and self-gratification is celebrated and normalized, for someone to still quietly say to themselves, 'I don't want to be shaped by this,' that is not a small thing. That is a person fighting upstream against everything around them." He quoted Matthew 5 verse 8 to me, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." And then he said something I'd never heard before. He said, "Notice it doesn't say blessed are the ones who achieved purity. It says pure in heart. Do you understand the difference? The heart is about orientation. What you want. What you're aiming for. Even when you fail, if your heart still wants to be clean, that is a pure heart. That desire itself is something I love." He talked about how so many believers have decided at some point that purity is unrealistic. That this is just who they are. That God probably understands. And he said, once someone stops wanting holiness, the situation is different. But the person who is failing and still hasn't stopped wanting to be clean, that person is still fighting. And I see it. And I honor it. He then said something very clear. He said, "I'm not telling you purity doesn't matter. It matters deeply. In 1 Corinthians 6 verse 18, I said to flee sexual immorality. Not manage it. Not reduce it gradually. Flee." That command